Hello, everybody. It's midweek, it's Wednesday, and we're here. We're back to leading our own way for part 2 of my conversation with Diana. If you missed part 1, please go back and listen. It's a masterclass in resilience and reinvention. Today, though, we pick up with Diana as she dives into her coaching philosophy and the work she's doing to help women rebuild after toxic relationships. I feel our conversation is it's more than overcoming adversity. It's about stepping into your power, identifying limiting beliefs, and using your story, your journey as a catalyst for change. Diana's commitment to self-care, community, and faith shines through, and her journey is proof that healing is continuous, but so is growth. Anyway, before we start, a quick reminder, as I mentioned on Monday, 45% of my listeners are not following, so please go and click it. It really does help, and if you can leave her a 5-star review, that would be amazing. If you want to support these conversations and help us reach more people, please go and follow wherever you're listening to, whatever platform, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Anyway, let's jump back in with Diana and explore what it means to lead your own way, no matter where you start. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, LOOW Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with leading our own way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to LOOW Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on leading our own way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like LOOW Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect. Let's go back to the beginning for you then, Diana, because I think it's important we share. It's like the filling in of the gap part. We know what you're doing, and we know where you stand. We can see what your purpose is. We can see what you stand for, but you've been on a journey to get to this point. So let's kind of fill in the timeline. Let's go back to where you grew up. Just paint a picture of a little bit of your childhood, where you came from, and then we'll go into the parts of where your journey behind your purpose began.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up I grew up in Syria, and I would say my childhood and my time there was, I don't remember too much of it because a lot of it was kind of just studying, and this, society back in, in Syria, it kind of like, I guess there's not, well, in the way that I've grown up, there wasn't much of like, kind of like a relationship between parents and their kids. Not in my situation, anyways. It was more of, my dad would be at work most of the day, right? He was the provider, so I would rarely see him. And then my mom was studying, and obviously she was at home most of the time, but they only knew what they knew, obviously. So most of my childhood was that you're a good child if you get good grades at school, because that was the society. It was for everybody. So if I got this grade, and then my dad was a doctor, and then his friends are doctors, and then their kids were in my school, like his daughter can't do better than me.
Yeah.
And I have a twin, so it was me and my twin. So we were just studying really hard. We did really well in school because of that pressure, I guess, and the expectation. But we didn't really have, social life. We didn't really have, like, we didn't experience. I didn't experience like friendships, love, like anything like that. It was purely home to school, and then from school to home. We go out as a family for dinner maybe once a week. That's about it. Sometimes we see our cousins, sometimes we don't, but that was it, right? Yeah. And then that was up until the age of 15, I think, around 15. Yeah, around 15. And then in 2010 we migrated to the UK with my mom and my sisters. So my mom had separated from my dad, and she moved to study. She actually had a scholarship to study English here, linguistics, and we came with her. And obviously we had to do GCSEs. So um, imagine not having the language. So in Syria, we did study English, but it was more grammar. Like we never spoke it. We didn't think we were gonna move abroad, like
Yeah.
you know. So we didn't really speak much. We could literally just say hello, like just basic words. But then we were thrown into. I had to do GCSEs, so
It's
it
crazy.
was really hard. Yeah, it was really hard. And so me and my sister had to go to extra classes. There was like some extra classes for international, kind of international students. So we would stay behind, only for English language and English lit, because we were really good at maths. Obviously it's a international thing. So we did well in the subjects, but English was terrible,
Yeah.
failed. Then I attended extra classes. Then, I passed. Um, but not similar to Syria, but it was survival. I was in survival mode.
Yeah.
I was bullied. Me and my sister were so bullied at school. I didn't know it was
In
bullying at the
England.
time. Yes, in England, yeah.
Oh
So
no.
I was during the school, yeah. I didn't know it was bullying, but
Yeah.
we were bullied because we looked so foreign. So obviously the way we dressed, the way we looked, right? Like you will just know if someone's from fresh from a different country.
But England's so
But
multicultural anyway, isn't it?
I,
You wouldn't I mean I had many different cultures in my school. My best
mm.
friend's Hindu background. Why would they want to pick on you? Why would they want to
it
bully you?
was it was it was bullying in the sense that all the guys would come and say, we didn't understand anything. Bear in mind,
Yeah.
we don't get taught anything about sex. We don't have sex education, nothing in
Yeah.
Syria.
Okay.
And we didn't know anything because we didn't barely even spoke. And I didn't realize that it was bullying. But then I
Mm.
started realizing, so all the guys in the school would literally come to my face and be like, I'm gonna put in your face, or what, you know what I mean? Like so that's the kind of bullying that
Yeah.
I was experiencing all the time. Just boys thinking they can do that because we looked foreign, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say attractive, but I guess we weren't ugly. But then
Yeah.
they saw it as, oh, look at these girls, like long hair, and they're dressed differently. Then automatically they're, I don't know, prostitutes. God knows what they thought.
So you were 16 at the
But it
time.
was, yeah, I was
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I had 10, 16. We came in summertime, but I had 10, 16 towards the end of that year. But yeah, it was really horrible. We didn't have friends as well, so we were literally just studying, obviously getting spoken at in this way, and we knew nothing. We didn't know much about sex education and stuff like that. It's not talked about in my country, um so yeah, it wasn't a great experience. And then made it to college. Again, in college I did sixth form. Didn't really started to have friends, but again it was mainly survival. Need to get the grades right. But I did have some friends. There was no bullying, thank God. But I think by that time, obviously, the English has improved. How we had to pass English. And then I made it to uni. So something worth touching on, actually. It's interesting because when I first started, when do you need to pick your subjects? Was it in college? Yeah, in college, when you pick your subjects, right? I really, really wanted to do like sociology and psychology. It's so interesting because obviously it makes sense now because I love neuroscience and I love the mind and all of these
Me
things.
too.
But I remember starting it, and because English was still terrible for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this because it's all English. And then I had to change it. And I had to change it to economics, accounting, everything like numbers. But it was because I had no choice. I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I have to stick to everything that's related to maths because it's less language.
Yeah. It's
And
universal,
then when
like you
I
said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it came to going to university, the reason why my sister picked maths, but I was like, I don't want to do maths because I was like, I need to pick something that's not just numbers, but it's still related to, like numbers. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with accounting because it sounds like it's a little bit to do with business.
Mm.
And I'm glad I did because I don't think I would have wanted to do maths. But that's how I ended up going to university and doing accounting and finance, actually. And again, unlike everybody else, didn't party, didn't have that uni life. I was literally just studying so hard. I had jobs as well. At one point, I had 4 jobs during university, and people don't believe me, but I'm going to explain how that worked. I had one job. I had one job being a waitress. I had one job being an IT rover at the university. So you know, at the university you have like some breaks. It's not like a 9 to 5 or anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the times that I wasn't doing studying, I did an IT rover at the university. So I would support people in when they go to the IT. So that was with the university. Then I had 2 more jobs with the university. One of them was an ambassador. So I would work on open days, um, mainly on open days, but it was all paid. And
Yeah.
then the other one was an ambassador for higher education. So I would actually go to school to encourage people to actually go to university. But that was also a job that was through the university. So there were none of it was like set times. Even the waitressing, I think it was just the weekend. But it was all kind of at some point it was all happening at the same time, because I had left, obviously, I had left the city that I was in, Leeds, left my mom and moved to Manchester and studied there. So I still had to survive. I was like, and because I was just studying and not going out and partying, I actually landed a job in my first year of uni, after my first year of uni, because I did well, in one of the top accounting firms in the world, which is KPMG. So it's unheard of. So whilst being a student, I landed a permanent part-time job with that company as a student at university. So it was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I left my waitressing job because I was like, oh, I'm in the office now. Like, I don't need to do waitressing.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, yeah. And
But
obviously your language obviously during that time massively improved. I'm
especially because of
guessing.
working.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
See, the
Yeah.
experience. Just quickly before we continue on that part, going back to how old were you when your parents separated? Because I know the reason why you came from Syria to England was part of your mum's scholarship, but why? What age were you when your mum and dad split?
It was exactly when we moved,
Oh, was it
around the same
so
time.
15,
Yeah, yeah.
16
So
years old?
15. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
wow.
yeah.
Why did they separate?
Just, I,
Just grown apart.
yeah, it just, I don't really know fully the reasons,
Yeah,
but it was so having the scholarship was one of, because obviously it is really difficult in our culture to divorce, right? Like just in
yeah,
general,
yeah.
to divorce, to be on your own, all of these things. But because she had the scholarship and she's been working it for so long, that was also an opportunity for her to obviously,
Pursue it. Yeah,
build a life.
yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
I have a great relationship, with my dad now, and it was formed whilst I was in the UK and I got older,
Yeah,
because
wow.
obviously the war started
Yeah.
in Syria 8 months after we moved, which is crazy. So I've never really lived,
Good. Yeah, wow.
when the war started. Yeah.
Thank goodness. I'm glad
Yeah.
you were out of there. Was that time not so much, well, including that part, but sorry, since I've drank the coffee, my throat's going, and that was weird. When was that hard being in a foreign country? Outside of the language barrier, just even just the streets looking different and stuff like that. Was that such, or was it exciting? Like, yeah, I'm in England. This is amazing. This is cool. I'm glad I'm here. Being away from dad, like, what was that like? Because I know your dad was working all the time, but not being with
Mm.
your dad all of a sudden. What was your I want to say mental health because it feels like the right thing to say, but just where were you at in all of that transitional
Oh
point
my God,
coming
I
from?
hated it.
Oh, did
I
you? You
hated
hated
it
being in
so much.
England?
I don't know if you can see the pictures. That was, I mean, you
Yeah.
can't tell,
Let's do
but
it.
these were like literally around the time that we moved.
So this one, this
This
picture.
one. Yeah, this picture. I don't even got any when I was in school, but I hated it
No,
so
I've got the
much.
other one I've got here that I've printed. I mean,
Yeah, the same. Yeah. This
yeah,
was around the same time where, I don't know, maybe it was later that year, but that's when I was very new to England in general, but I
yeah,
hated it so much. I wanted to go back. Like I just obviously I couldn't go back, but there was so much resentment. Like
Yeah.
now I'm so grateful, obviously, but I hated it so much.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
would have been
there
hard for a
was
15,
because,
16-year-old.
but the thing is, but it's what I said to you, it was survival as well, right? Like not just the bullying and the language barrier. I had no friend, like there was no friendships, right? There was
Yeah.
no relatability. There was no one to connect with. My mom was also kind of absent most of the time because she was studying for her PhD, right? Like she was in the library, she was, you know what I mean? She was also a single mom of four. Like it was a lot. So there was a lot of, yeah, kind of, and I think that's definitely led into this, when I moved to Manchester, and I think it did lead to this era where I started to just be so independent and just operate on survival and masculine energy in general, because I'm like, oh, I need to be my own mom and, my own dad, and make money and survive and get good grades and make it out or whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it actually, it followed through since university, from university until even when I got my first job in accounting and finance. um yeah, and I was actually in a relationship when I was 17 maybe, and it was toxic, but I didn't realize at the time. I was in it for like, I don't know, 5 years,
Mm.
but it was actually toxic. But I don't um yeah, it was actually really toxic, and I lost like 7 grand just from being with that person, and I had to report him to the police. There was so much that happened, but I was at an age where I wasn't really. I don't see it as like my first ever relationship, because when you're that age, you don't really know
Yeah.
anything, and
But if it's pivotal
obviously
though,
I was clueless because I was still kind of like
yeah.
new to the country as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you, I mean, you're 17 years old, you've entered this new, are you seeking, I mean, were you thinking about looking for a relationship that quick?
No, but I don't know. I think that I would definitely say that the absence of my dad played a part,
Mm.
but I think that's what I mean. Like my whole that's also why my whole kind of, well, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 years, but that's why my whole time was kind of like, yes, I was in that relationship. It was long distance anyways. Like it
Oh.
wasn't healthy, um but but I think that's also why I was like, just on, like, I didn't have a life outside of, you know
Mm.
the relationship or the financial struggles. That obviously the fact that it wasn't really healthy. I didn't have a healthy relationship with my family either at the time.
Yeah.
For a long time, I didn't have a healthy relationship with my family. Um,
So you're just
you
low,
know,
you must be feeling isolated during this time.
yeah, and that, I mean, that obviously after the relationship ended, it was not too long after I actually, um like, I was going through this whole kind of like low self-worth and isolation, and like what you said, when you don't have good relationship with your family. And yes, I had some friends, but you know
Mm.
I struggled with self-images a lot. Like when I look back at, sometimes I try to find pictures, there's no pictures without filters or like hiding half of my face or whatever. Like it makes me upset, because I even at some point I like wanted to get surgeries and all these things, and I'm glad I didn't. But
Mm.
I struggled with self-image, insecurities, isolation, not having, and I think that's why I spent most of the time just working.
Yeah.
you know, I was just working,
I,
and
I can see um, why you're like that, right? Because of your childhood, growing up constantly studying, not and having much of a social life. The drive from the reputation of your family, living in Syria, that type. You know what I mean? Because I mean
yeah.
that does happen in England, but maybe not in the same sense. It depends. Like if you live near the football wives, those families, that's when it becomes competitive, doesn't it?
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it does,
Oh,
absolutely.
oh,
And
yeah.
same here, certain parts of Melbourne, you live down the street next to the beach, you go to certain private schools, they're all comparing each other, and you have to keep up with the Joneses. And I know that's different too there, but I can see why you're
Yeah.
why you're doing what you're doing and getting the certain offers, like with the job KPMG. Is that what it's called, KPMG?
KPMG, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you also won an award at university as well, didn't you?
Yeah, an excellence award. But again, it's because I was just studying
Yeah.
and I had really good relationships with the lecturers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, yeah, I guess I didn't even know who I was outside of all of it. It was kind of more of an escape, I guess.
Mm.
I didn't know. Now I know, right? I know that I had self-worth, like low self-worth. I know I had insecurities. I know that I was obviously had toxic relationships with probably not the right friends, not the right, didn't have, when you don't have a good relationship with, your mom, your sister and stuff like that, it's not going to be a great,
Sure.
you're not going to be attracting the right friendships and the right relationships. But I didn't know that. It was all on a subconscious level.
It's
Now I know.
normalized. Yeah, now you know.
It's normalized. Yeah,
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 because of the work you've
everything.
done.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah.
Where does life take you then, though? Because after that relationship and after university, where does life take you? Because you go on a bit of a journey again, don't you?
Yeah, so obviously I started working in accounting and finance. Trying to think about the years. So yeah,
Wasn't with that
I was
company, was it?
working.
With
Sorry?
the KPMG, the unbelievably
No,
amazing
so I
business.
left it. So yeah,
Okay.
so I left that to do a graduate scheme
Hmm.
for 2 years, but it was mainly finance, to be honest. Like it was in financial services, but it was my first like kind of job after university. That was for 2 years. And then um I got a different job in accounting finance. So, and I was also studying for my accountancy ACA qualification. So I was basically working and studying for my accountancy qualification. It's funny because around that time I was also I actually did start looking at like different side hustles. I think I've always wanted to do more than a
There you
nine to
go.
five. I tried trading, I tried network marketing, which I know is not something that I want to do now, but I did try some stuff because I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, 9 to 5 life is not for me. But none of it worked. I mean, I think I don't realize this now, but back then it's because my values didn't align. I just didn't enjoy it. If you don't
Hmm.
enjoy something, you're not gonna want to do it on the side of your 9 to 5.
No.
Um, but yeah, things took turn when I moved to London and I had another accounting and finance job, and I was single, and I ended up, you know, getting with someone that I actually have known for I don't know, for a few years, maybe 5 years. But you think, when you think you know somebody,
Hmm.
now I know because I've learned. But as I said, it was my first official like serious relationship. But when you think you know someone, well, that's what I thought because I had no experience with relationships, right? Just because you've met them a few times and you've spoken on the phone over the years, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I know this person for years. No, you don't.
You
You
feel
don't know
safe,
that
don't you?
person at all. But it doesn't mean that you know this person at all. Obviously,
No.
now I know. But
Mm.
I ended up getting in a relationship, with that person. And, I didn't know that it was what I know it is now. I didn't know anything about someone being a narcissist or abused or anything like that, right? Like you don't know because they love bomb you, and
Hmm.
yeah, I thought that was it. I honestly, like, I thought it was love, and things progressed so quickly. It's funny because I've always wanted to be a mother. Obviously, I've always wanted to be in a relationship, especially because I've spent most of my life single, right? So because that was when I was like 29. It was 29. I became a mom when I was 29. I'm trying to think when I when I got into the relationship. But my plan for my life was like, I want to be financially stable, I want to travel, I want to do all of these things. But then obviously when you get into a relationship and it's manipulative and it's love bombing, and you think that I genuinely thought this is it, like, right? Like everything needs to be stepped aside, and my priority shifted. I wanted to be a mom, like everything changed, literally. I mean, this is the crazy part as well. I was still dealing with low self-worth, clearly, because there was a lot of red flags that I didn't even see as red flags, right? So, I was the provider, I was helping the person, I was you know, doing a lot of the things, ride or die, all of these things, right? And I didn't see some of the signs. So whether it's like verbal abuse, right? Like all of these things, the way I've been spoken to. But when you don't know what's right and wrong and you have low self-worth, you think it's normal. So for example, one of the things that, and I've seen that in other relationships as well, when you question something, the person would be like, oh, like this is normal. It's just that you don't see what goes behind closed doors, right? You just see the Instagram reel. But this is normal for every relationship. The way you're getting spoken to, the way like this is just normal. You just don't know anything because you've never been in a relationship. So I believed all of that and I just normalized everything. And then I obviously, as I said, we both wanted to have a baby because I still thought like there wasn't any crazy signs, right? Like it wasn't so like nothing was screaming like this is abusive or this is wrong or you're losing yourself. And things escalated fast. That's what happens when you get into a relationship like that. And you know, moved in with him, and then I got pregnant. And my first it's crazy because my first breakdown that happened on the back of, you know, him being abusive and literally me fully breaking down. I remember it up until today where I was in the car and I was praying to God. I was like, I really hope that I'm not pregnant because of how I was feeling and me realizing that this is not right.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I was pregnant. And then that's when I was like, that's when the whole feeling of being trapped and the mask slipping and it getting worse. So the one breakdown became multiple, you know, the verbal abuse went to more emotional abuse. Like it got to the point where I don't know how to explain it. If I was to explain it in a way, it literally felt like, you know, like I don't know what they're called when there's dummies and like someone just controls.
Puppets.
Yeah, and you just had like I felt like I had literally no soul, no say, nothing, and that person had all the power over me. Like it was so scary. Like it literally felt like that.
Yeah.
And I was in a different city. Obviously, I still didn't have a good relationship with my family. I still was isolated with my friends because that's what happens when you get into the relationship like that. And I was in a different city. So yeah, I felt completely trapped. And that
What?
was the lowest points of my life when I
Yeah.
was in that environment. Yeah.
What scale? Remember that scale that I presented to you earlier in the episode of what number on that scale would you have say you were sat at?
Oh my God. It it got to a point where I knew that if I stayed, I would start thinking about not being here anymore. Like I literally, I had, when I say I had no choice, I genuinely had no choice. And I also believe that my son saved me. This is why I'm so grateful that he is my biggest blessing because he gave me the strength. Because yes, I was fully losing myself, and you know, the seeing a newborn like cry and it's funny because I knew about manifestation around the time that I actually attracted him, but I didn't know that I had all of the subconscious beliefs, right? Because you think everything's great until the universe throws something at you and you're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not healed. But when I started going through all of this, I actually was still going. So I started deepening my faith in God. So I was still going to church even though he wasn't coming with me. And I also bought the book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I genuinely think that my faith, my son, and that book changed my life because I started reading it even though I was in that situation. And it gave me so much hope because I started, like, sometimes faith is so important, but I also wanted to see some science because I don't know how to explain it. When you're in a situation where the circumstances are screaming, it's impossible to survive. It's impossible to have a nice ending or get. I genuinely thought it was impossible. Like every day I would be like, I don't know, like let's say cleaning, and I'm like God it feels like a prison. I mean a prison. Like it was so bad, and I genuinely couldn't believe that this wasn't. I was like, this is going to be my life forever. Like, it gets to the point where you know this is so wrong, when you know that as I said, like it got to the point. So that night was my breaking point when I had started having these thoughts. I even vocalized them to the person and they didn't care. Like it was just crazy. But I was reading the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and I just started seeing like all this. I started reading all this. I think I told you that this when we had the chat. I started reading like the stories about, you know, people healing cancer through, you know, like basically taking control of their mind and their subconscious beliefs. And I was like, I know about manifestation, but I never knew about. Sorry.
That's all right. Is he waking up?
Crazy times, yeah. But yeah, I just I knew about manifestation, but I never knew the depth of the neuroscience behind it as well, right? I didn't know that your circumstances can literally be so bad, but you can change. You can change your reality through changing your subconscious, like like your subconscious mind and your beliefs and all these things. And I started believing it. So this is why I tell people, like, leaving is not just, oh, I'm gonna go tomorrow and that's it. You need an escape plan and you need to be ready. It's not easy, and everybody's situation is so different. It's not like like I wanted to leave and I knew that I wanted to leave, but I didn't leave the next day. I had to plan it all. I had to be ready, like all of the, not fully ready, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it started planting the seed. I genuinely started, like, I didn't know it was visualization at the time. I don't think he was talking visualization, but I started literally dreaming. I thought it was daydreaming and like sleep dreaming of me being in Thailand, me being in Bali. Sorry, I've always wanted to be in Bali. I was like, I can see myself in Bali. I can see myself happy with like my son, and I and obviously I would wake up and then obviously that would disappear. I couldn't even journal sometimes, so I would, because he would take the mick out of it and say it's all like, you know what I mean? So like there are certain things that I couldn't do. And that's why I'm so passionate about affirmation tapes. I don't know if you've heard of affirmation tapes.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've not dug
Yeah,
too
yeah. So
deep into that,
basically,
but
yeah, so basically when I couldn't like journal because he would make comments, right? Or like I couldn't say anything out loud because I'm trapped in literally a small flat with this person. I would put my headphones in and I would listen to affirmation tapes, basically affirmations playing in the background when you're sleeping or when you're just, I don't know, cleaning or whatever, saying beliefs that are actually positive.
yeah,
And again, I didn't think he was doing much, but because I was reading the book of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and reading the neuroscience about the mind, I genuinely started to believe that I can change my mind. And I believed in, I had faith and I believed in like the power of affirmations and all these things, but not in that level.
yeah.
And I genuinely believe that it planted the seeds that it, it, it gave me the strength to be like, nope, I didn't have the money. I literally had nothing like when I left.
Because you left him,
And
right?
yeah, I left. Yeah. I
During
literally packed everything and left.
how many months
So,
pregnant were you? Sorry, carry on. No, I'm sure you
oh
told me.
yeah, sorry. Actually, I left. I left when I was, I think I was around 5 months pregnant. So that's the first time that I left. That's not when I told you when it was like the turning point and I had my newborn. So I actually left, uh, be, um, when I was 5 months pregnant, and I spent most of my pregnancy alone. So that's when I still had my job. I got a flat in in Manchester, and I've been used to being independent, as I've mentioned, right? I
Yes,
was like, I can
yeah.
do it all by myself, drove up and down, done everything. And then
Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
obviously I've never been pregnant before, right? Like I've never been a mom or pregnant before, so I don't really know the full experience. When it got to the point where I was close to giving birth, I started struggling to walk and be independent, and I felt so vulnerable. I had somebody that was meant to be my birthing partner because I didn't have. People tell you they're going to be supportive, but then when you move, they just disappear. Like it is really disappointing sometimes. Like it happens, but the person that was meant to be a birthing partner for me suddenly wasn't. And I was like, okay, I'm terrified. I have no one. I need to give him another chance because I felt so vulnerable. I actually needed someone to be there with me. And I also was like, okay, God, like obviously every mom will have this experience of going back because you want to have this happy family unit, right? So it was all of these things together. And I went back, and initially it felt nice, right? But even during birth, I was abused. Like it was horrible. Like this is why, like, honestly, like, yeah, it was my birthing experience for me was traumatizing because it wasn't physical abuse, obviously, because there was people around us, but it was a lot of, like, I'm gonna give you an example, right? At 5 a.m. in the morning, I had to go to the hospital because I was in labor, and it's horrible pain, right? And I had to walk 10 minutes whilst in labor. No one does that because where he parked the car, and I couldn't walk. So it was 5 a.m. It was in London. No one is looking at anybody, like no one cares. But I couldn't wait, I couldn't walk. So I kept falling. And he would shout at me and be like, oh my God, he's so embarrassing. Why are you on the floor? I was like, oh my gosh. But because the pain of the labor I was focused on I just, I couldn't deal with what was going on. Like, he would even say something like, oh, it's nothing, I've had a kidney thing, like I know exactly how it feels to be in labor. I was like, you will never know how it feels to be in labor. Like it's just crazy.
Literally, we'll never know. Yeah.
Yeah. And the nurses actually noticed that it was abusive, actually, and they kept checking on me and saying, are you okay? Like, is that, but I was terrified of saying anything because I was like, I'm not ready to leave. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do because I was so scared of someone taking away my son from me. Like, that's all I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. So I was like, no, everything's fine, whatever. And then obviously think that's when things started to get worse. So like the thing that wasn't obvious became obvious. So for example, shouting and saying, doing something like in public in a shopping center. I was like, oh my gosh, it's now when, okay, this is something that happens with single moms as well, right? Like, or just women in general. We believe, especially even me, that if it's not physical, it's not abuse. And that was exactly what I've always thought. I was like, if he doesn't put his hands on me, then it's not abuse. That was always in my mind. I'm just being weak or whatever. But then it came to the point where he would do things in the shopping center and be scared, and I would say, I was gonna tell, I'm gonna do something about this, and then he wouldn't care, and I would have my newborn with me, and I was like, okay, things are, I'm not gonna say like it got physical, but it started escalating in a way where I was like, okay, if this is not scary for this person anymore, what's next? It kept feeling like that.
Yeah.
And that's when I was getting scared of me and for my son's safety. I was like, this is why it's actually, again, it's not selfish to leave with your kids. I've got a reel about this. Like, don't feel guilty for leaving a narcissist because
No.
you're breaking a happy home. It does not exist when there's abuse in the family because you're protecting your child too.
Yeah.
Not just safety, but do I want my child to grow up seeing this as a role model?
And then it repeats
So
itself with their family, their friends, their children, and so on. Yeah. Yep.
exactly, yeah. So I left for good when when my son was around 5 months old, and yeah, went back to the same. Thank God I still had that flat, so I actually had
Oh,
somewhere to stay.
oh, good.
And yeah, it was really difficult. And I'm going to be open and say that I've literally said a voice note to one of the single moms that's in the situation right now. And I was so honest with her, and I said, listen, there was a point where I had to get food delivered from like charities. Like, And I'm not ashamed to say it.
Mm.
I needed that support from people that I didn't even know, but that didn't mean that that was my end destination, obviously, right?
Of course, yeah.
But sometimes I have to say it to people because they think, oh, I don't have this money, I don't have this. I'm like, the most important thing if you're in something like that is for you to actually leave. It's not for you to think about. I know it can be really difficult, but it's not for you to be worrying about all of these other things. Like, oh, how am I gonna have the money? How am I gonna have the spot? It will come. Like, there's so many ways around it. Like, I didn't have friends. I didn't have a job at the time. But there was support around me. I had my church community that I utilized. I didn't even tell them I want help. But
Yeah.
God will put people in your place. They literally came to me with a van of different things that I was like, oh, like, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't even ask. Then
Beautiful.
I seeked, because I didn't have money at the time as well. I used free therapy, right? So I was doing free therapy and it really helped. And they got someone to give me these, you know what I mean? The food pass and stuff like that. Like, I didn't actually go out of my way, but I was open to receiving. The ego had to drop. That independent woman, I was like, no, I actually do need support, and
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm not gonna be, because obviously my son is not gonna be this young forever. I can go back to work.
Yeah.
Things are gonna change. Like, I knew I was gonna go back to work, but then I also lost my job, so that's another thing that happened.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so I lost my job a month before going back from maternity. Again, that's one of the big things that happened in my life where I was like, I am never relying on a 9 to 5 ever again. Like, I'm
Yeah.
determined to building something that will mean I'm never ever gonna rely or be scared because a 9 to 5 is gonna let me go, whatever. They didn't care. They knew about my relationship. They knew everything. And they just said, oh, we don't think, we don't like the fact that you're not going to be coming to the office 5 days a week. We've changed. You live in a different city now. But they told me last minute and they knew my situation. And then I had 1 month to find a new job, which I'm so grateful about. And, things started to change.
You're just another number, though, aren't you? And that's the same for me. I'm never going back to a controlled job where someone's telling me what to do, when I can go to the toilet, all of that, stuff. I'm just you're just another number. If you died on a Sunday night, that business would be you would be filled
They
the next
literally
day.
don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
It's stressful. Everyone's living in fear. I feel everyone's living in fear. They've got houses, they've got mortgages, they've got families, and I get all of that, of course, because so do I. But they're so concerned about that contract, but what they don't see is what happened to you. Or for me, I didn't get moved on from my job, but I was in a toxic work environment with narcissism, workplace bullying, toxic leaders, and I became a shell of who I am and who I was. And I'm not a victim anymore. I've obviously changed it around, as have you done. And I'm guessing same for the reason why the podcast exists. Your business exists because of this, and I'm guessing that's the
100%.
overlap where you have built that business. I feel like we've done that full loop to why we're back to where the beginning of it, right?
Yeah, and I think this is why I'm also not just passionate about the healing side, because if I can show and help women, because everyone's got a story, right? That you can build a personal brand and you can have something of your own away from whatever. Obviously, let's say they have a 9 to 5 or they're going back to 9 to 5. Then again, it's fulfilling my whole circle moment because of my experience, right? Like, you don't have to stay in a 9 to 5. You don't have to just be a stay-at-home mom. You don't have to even lose your identity to motherhood in general, right? Like, you're not just a mom.
No.
You've got dreams, you've got desire. You just don't know that you have them yet because you've not allowed yourself, or you're not in an environment that helped you with that. And this is one thing that helped me as well. So I started with free therapy. And again, if I knew about this community that I'm going to create, I would have 100% jumped in it. But then when I went back to work, right, that's when I started, exercising properly during lunchtime. Like, my son was in childcare, and I started investing the money from my 9 to 5, even though I was still in debt because financial abuse happens, right? Like, I went through debt mainly because of me being the provider for everything, right?
Sure.
So, but regardless, when you have something coming in every month, I chose to use that money to invest in mentorship, in courses, because I was so determined into building something of my own and knowing that I'm a student, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I know that I want to help women. I know that I want to build a life of purpose for me and my son, and not be scared about a 9 to 5 leaving me anymore. And that's what got me to where I am today, like literally. So if I didn't invest in the mentorship and the healing, and here we go. And
These are perfect times to bring
only,
this in.
yeah, and that only happened this year as well. It was only this year. So I started my first post in August last year, my first intentional post.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually posted my first post in August last year, and it was terrified, but because I had a mentor, because it was when I first got back to work and everything, and it was my first intentional post. People didn't even know I was a single mom. They didn't know I had a child. They knew nothing. You know, when you just have Instagram, just random pictures once a year. Like, that was it. And then I was like, okay. I started with a Faces account, and I couldn't continue with it because I was like, how am I gonna empower women when I'm hiding my own voice? I couldn't. I was like, okay, so I scrapped that account. I've got a screenshot of it and I've put it on one of my posts before, but yeah, I still tried, but yeah, and then because obviously I was terrified of this is why I understand women leaving these kind of relationships. I was terrified of talking about anything about my life, even my name. I hid everything. I was so scared, but it was so unfulfilling. I was like, I can't express myself using stock images. It came to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, even if it's me, I made a bit of money as well. I was like, even if it's me, I don't want to do this anymore because it defeats my vision.
Yeah.
And then I made the first intentional post in August, and I wasn't consistent. I was terrible at content, I would say. I can say it now, right? I mean, I don't care about perfect or not perfect, but barely got likes, barely got views, didn't get support. And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I kept showing up and I kept investing. And then this year was the year where I was like, okay, I'm going all in. I'm going to be consistent. I was posting nearly every single day. I would say from like around April, maybe March, April. I made big investments, like higher investments in like one-to-one mentorship, high-level mentorship. I didn't stop investing in myself. I didn't stop trying. And then I became so clear into what I want to do. So I became a certified life and NLP coach, and obviously I launched this coaching brand, and yeah, and then I started growing on the back of another investment and more work, and that's where we are today.
That's where
Creating
we're at today.
Community next.
Love it. So I'll bring my three final questions in now then. So, you know, you've just mentioned about the community that you're going to launch, and I'm obviously very exciting things, but long term, I always ask the guests future plans. What is your future plans that you see in the future? Because, you know, just because we're here on one of the best podcasts in the world doesn't mean we've made it. We're not, you know, we are leading our own way currently, but things still go wrong, and we still have higher aspirations, and we still have, you know, we're not just going to be stopping in 6 months on the next goal. We're going to keep going. What do you envision would be long term for Diana?
Yeah, so I've got a few things exciting in general, but then I'm going to talk about the big vision that I'm hoping that, well, will make it happen. But I think I mentioned to you that the goal with the community is not only to grow and support as many single moms and women as possible, but to also potentially have in-person events, whether it's like single mom retreats or just events for the women in the community. So that's something that is in the future, right? Like doing my own events. I'm collaborating with someone from my city to actually do an event for these women at some point in the next year, which I don't have the information, but that's also exciting. Something is already happening. But the bigger vision is I would love to have, you know, my own book, probably.
Yes.
I would love to potentially start a podcast when I've got the capacity, as you know, after the community's launched. And
it's a full-time one, let me tell you.
it's a see what I mean? Yeah, but I'm talking about in the future.
Sure.
Like, it would be nice to have a book, to have a podcast, to definitely do collaborations with I've got really good friends that are single moms and they have businesses, and we've talked potentially on doing single mom retreats abroad. And yeah, I think these are the things that I've got in the pipeline in my mind that would just be just continue to grow and support more people in just different ways.
Love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. If you could, you've given it throughout, but if you could give, for anyone who is tuning in who might be able to connect to our topics that we've discussed today, what piece of powerful advice could you just give to us right now to end on?
I would say specifically if you are, let's say, a single mom or woman healing from, or have just left, or doesn't know if she can leave, or is scared, or thinks that it's impossible to leave and change, your life just because you've attracted this kind of person into your life, or you're in this situation. I just think it's so important for this person to know that you can totally leave and you can totally rebuild and heal on your own, and you can do it through the stuff that you might not see in your reality. I just think it's so important for somebody to just know the power of the faith and the unseen and their own mind. If you understand, even if it's just 1%, how powerful your mind is, and have faith in the unseen, regardless of what you're going through, it 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 really will change your life. And I think if I can just say that to somebody in that situation, and just say that the most important and the hardest step for you to take is to actually step out of that environment and start your healing journey. Everything else will follow. It's just one step at a time. And I do encourage, that's what's helped me, I would say, change my life within 6 months to now 2 years, and quantum leap, I would say. And so many things have shifted so massively. Finding community, so whether it's my community or another community or a mentor or whatever, that can really, somebody that has been through what you've been through, understand what you've gone through, maybe is few steps ahead of you. It doesn't have to be 20,000 steps, but if you can either have them in as a life mentor, even if it's in person, it could be on social platforms, join the community, join the mentorship. If you can just find that person that understands you and you feel seen and safe around them, and they can really hear you, hold your hand, and help you move through all of this to actually help on your healing journey, please do that, because that's what's genuinely changed my life. Yes, therapy is great. Start with that if that's not everything needs money at the start, but as you get out of that survival mode and getting out, and you're ready, and you're like, okay, I've done some healing, but I'm ready for more and more and more, and I know that seek it, find it, just look for solutions and find them. I'm going to give an example of the Bible study, for example, right? Even when I was with my son and I didn't have support, I really wanted to do weight training, even though I was a beginner. But I didn't want to go to a baby and mom class that was like a pram walk, or some yoga thing. I was like, I don't want any of this. I want a baby and mom class that has strength training, like weights. And just because in my mind, I was like, oh, what if it exists? I started searching for it, and guess what? I found it. I had to travel half an hour, but it existed, which is crazy. I've got tiny 5-second video of me in it. My son was literally a newborn in a car seat, and I had the weights and I was jumping up and down. But if you just look at solutions, you will find it.
Yeah.
Recently, I wanted to strengthen my faith with just with God, and I'm terrible at reading the Bible. ADHD, tons of things on my plate. I've always tried and failed. I'm gonna hold my hands up. I don't understand it fully when it comes to reading the Bible, and I've been trying to find solutions for so long. And then I got to the point where I was like, Diana, let's be real. I don't have the capacity to go to an in-person Bible study, because I've looked at the timelines for the one that I want to go to, and it's just so difficult. It's just difficult to find the time when I'm free to go. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, and even if I can, it's not going to be, from day one, because that's my day one, because I want to start fresh. And I'm not going to be consistent probably because my life is so busy. So I went on YouTube and I found this amazing woman that does a Bible study for beginners for a whole year, and it's like daily basis, and it's visual, and you're reading with her, and I've got my Bible, and I was like, I've just found a solution, and I'm literally on day 3 now. But again, it's literally just, it sounds so cliche, but when you literally start thinking that this impossible, crazy thought of there's no solution because I don't have the time, trust me, if you're looking for it, you will find it. Like,
and you know what? If it's not there, you could be the one to be the one that supplies it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Love it. Yeah, great advice. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If for those, I'll put everything in the show notes. But for those who are seeking, where can people find you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm on Instagram at diana.empower. I'm also on TikTok. I'm not as active there. Again, diana.empower. Yeah, I would definitely would love for you to follow my journey, to message me if you did listen to this podcast. And if you did want to join the community or know more about the community, I do have a link of a wait list, and it is going to be launched very soon. So yeah, the best place to contact me and find me will be Instagram, obviously.
Beautiful. Love it. And I'll put everything in your show notes. If you've got any email addresses and things like that, I can put it in there as well. If you're happy with that, if not, we'll do the social media for sure. Purpose. I always ask the guest to put it into a line. It's very crystal clear what your purpose is by now. It definitely is to me anyway. But for those, I always ask the guest to put it into one powerful line. What would that be for you?
My purpose is to help ensure single moms and women healing from toxic relationships that no matter what trauma you've gone through in your life, you can overcome it, you can heal, rebuild, and actually rise from it and build a beautiful, aligned life that you've never ever imagined. It doesn't matter what you've gone through.
Beautiful. Great way to end the episode, Diana. Absolutely love it. And I'm positive we can definitely help a lot of people with this episode today, because and actually one of the questions I did want to ask you was, because you're in this line of work, whenever you start to open up about a particular topic, it seems, what we've been talking about, that it seems to come into your life even more, doesn't it? I'll give you a silly example. My dog was epileptic, and I never heard of a dog being epileptic. All of a sudden, because I'm talking about it, every other dog's epileptic. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm adding a bit of humor in there to bring that out, but it's the truth. Like, because you're in that line of work, is it everywhere? Is it so common and it's just hidden? Yeah, like
that I've been through.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Honestly, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Like, and just to put it into perspective, my first reel that went viral was the first time I've actually shared not obviously everything of my story, but I shared kind of what I've shared with you today, right? About like me leaving, coming back, thinking it was going to get better. It got worse, like experience, didn't have a good experience, whatever. And then I had to leave and rebuild or whatever. That's the reel that actually, my first reel that went viral. And the story was in the caption. And the amount of women, I still get comments from that video till today. The amount of women and bear in mind, when I posted it, I was like, this is just like nobody's experienced. I promise, like I swear, like Andrew, I thought it was just me. I genuinely thought it was just me that's experienced this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And it's got millions of views, and I get comments every day of like, when I say to you, women saying this is exactly my story. Like even they're leaving, they're coming back.
Yeah.
Some of them have made the mistake, well, like more than once. Some of them have stayed for years and years and years. But it's so sad and heartbreaking. But it also shows how important it is to have women kind of either talk about it or show that you don't need to live with this guilt, thinking, oh my gosh, like I was in it for 6 years and I'm broken, or I went back 5 times, whatever. Because you know what, it's like everything, right? It's like when you get like this happens all the time, when you get like a person that's never been a mom tell a mom what to do, right? You're like, no, you've never been a mom, never mind a single mom, so please you're not qualified to say anything. But it's the same with experiencing narcissistic abuse or really heavy toxic, abusive. I'm going to say abusive relationship because it is. I like to water it down by saying toxic, but an abusive, even if it's emotional abuse or whatever kind of abuse, unless you're in it or you've experienced it, you will never understand the psychology and how difficult the manipulation is. As I said to you, I didn't have any say at some point. The person was controlling everything.
Yeah.
You literally lose yourself completely.
Yeah.
But if I can, and I'm not saying everybody's got, obviously there's different levels to this, you know, I'm not saying everybody's, you know, my story is harder or easier or whatever, but I hope that if I can rebuild my self-worth and actually, you know, rebuild the confidence from absolutely losing myself, like I pray that the work that I'm doing and the more I show up and the more I, you know, grow the community, I can show these women that even if you have, you know, if you've gone back multiple, I understand you, I see you, and I know how difficult it is, right? It's not black and white, but it is possible, especially with the right people, the right support. You know, seek help, be open to help. I just sent a voice note to someone the other day, and I literally said to her, I said, listen, even if you don't have, doesn't have to, you don't, you know, some things I can't support somebody with, right? So let's say it's logistics of leaving. Let's say it's getting, I don't know, food, whatever. Like, it depends on which stage you're in. That's different from the women that are wanting to build personal brands, right? And like get over the fear of being seen. But I would say to them, like, be open to looking for that help. It doesn't have to be your friend and sister or someone online, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's your, you know, your church. Sometimes it's a charity. That's, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's, but it's not spoken about enough, you know? Just, it's so, yeah, I mean, I hope that whoever's listening to this podcast as well kind of knows that there are so it's just possible. And
well, we've made it possible as well. You've made it possible, not just, I mean, massively outside of this podcast, what you're doing every day.
Yeah, and you know what, like what you said, because it's so common, like I think the more single moms and women understand that, you know, by you leaving this kind of situation and not letting your child live in a toxic environment where it's not safe, it's like you're actually breaking generational cycles too. You're not breaking a home, you're actually breaking this whole generational cycle of you need to stay and lose yourself because you can't get a divorce, or because you can't, you know, sometimes it's complicated and hard to do. But if you can, I think, you know, breaking that stigma, because you know, the most important thing for a child is a happy and healthy mom.
Agreed.
I said it.
No, I agree.
Not just a dad, but you know what I mean? You as a mother, you need to be okay. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Diana. That was a powerful way to end. Thank you so much for joining me on Leading Our Own Way. It's been an absolute honor. And you know, it's midnight for where you are, so you should definitely be getting to bed.
Well, I'm sleeping on purpose tonight.
To everybody else.
It's been I was gonna say it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We've had such a good conversation.
Oh, it's been powerful. Can't wait for it to be
released.
released.
I'm glad we connected. It's funny that we're both from Manchester, even though you're in Australia.
Yeah. Mutual
Small world.
Mutual friend, Beck Christian, as well. My former guest.
Shout out to her. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's incredible. Beautiful person as well.
She's incredible. Yes.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in. Like always, have a great week. Keep tuning in, and more importantly, keep leading your own way. We're coming back for another amazing guest next week, who's also going to share how they're leading their own way. So have a great weekend. Until then, keep leading your own way. We'll see you soon. Well, that wraps up part 2 of Diana's incredible journey. It's always sad when we come to an end of the episode. It's always exciting to start a new one next week. But yeah, we spend such a long time with each other. It's, you know, it's part of the journey. Diana's story is a testament to the power of self-discovery, the strength of community, and the courage to rebuild. As I reflect on my own path, I'm reminded that every struggle can become a stepping stone, not just for ourselves, but for those we choose to help. If you find value in this show, this episode in particular, please follow the show and share your thoughts in a review. Let's keep building this community of resilience and hope, because together we can turn pain into purpose. Keep leading your own way. Have a great week, great weekend. Yeah, we've got a new one next week. Come back for more. Until then, keep leading your own way. Bye for now. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.